Hello, teachers, and welcome to the heart of lesson number 5, Psalm 1, part 2. So I knew that we were going to focus mostly on the next couple of verses. His delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, yielding fruit in its season. Its leaf does not wither, and all that he does, he prospers. However, I wasn't sure if we were going to get to the wicked and how they won't stand in the day of judgment and that kind of thing or not. And after thinking more about it and putting things together, I decided that it's better to hold off on that part and probably try to cover that when we get to John 15 and Jesus talking about how he is the vine and we are the branches, because that same idea comes up in that passage as well. But anyways, for this week, our main goal is to essentially try to help convince students that following God's law and being rooted in Him is truly going to lead to a better life than being led by our sin or people who don't love God and don't care to follow God. So that's really our goal for the evening. And the way that we're going to do that is in the different stations. So we'll for in two of the stations. The other one's different. So Joyce, your station, you're going to be thinking about, well, what would it look like for your life to be full of these not godly things, like full of always lying all the time, or always complaining, or always being angry. I chose those three things because when I look at the kids in elementary school, I think that those three things are the things that the kids seem to struggle with the most. So I thought that those would just be good things to target in their lives of, like, yeah, I think that they need to hear that. What does your life look like if it's being led by these things versus led by peace and truth and thankfulness? And is your life actually better when you lean into those things instead of the other? Yeah, so that's going to be your station. If you need any more direction, because I didn't really give you any direction there, I left it a blank slate for you to kind of build off of, please let me know and I will come up with activities or more points for you to follow along with. But otherwise, you're free to just let the creativity flow. Same for you, Joe. I left things pretty light. There's a little bit more direction just because I had this idea from something I'd done before on Psalm 1 back during COVID. So I gave you that idea, but feel free to let your creative juices flow and see where it leads you. In your station, you're going to just be focusing in on what does it mean to meditate on God's law day and night. What does that look like? So I have this illustration of how it's the difference between just having like a big meal once and then not eating again for multiple days. Maybe you can even talk about how there's animals that do that. I feel like Ava would love to talk about that and how lions, eat a big meal once they get. Anyways, and then the instead meditation is almost like snacking on God's word constantly. So instead of just having that one big meal, you're eating and drinking stuff constantly, so you're never hungry or thirsty because you're just always being filled with it and you're thinking about it so much. So that's the illustration that's there, but feel free to go in whatever direction you want to, as long as we're understanding at the end of the day what it means to meditate on God's word. And then I realize I have this video all weird, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. The last station downstairs is Pastor Taylor, and you are going to be kind of doing a review of what they learned last week, but through reading a story. So you're going to read the story of Daniel in the Lion's Den in the Jesus Storybook Bible, and then you might want to stop as you go through, or at the end, you can reflect back on it, and you're going to be asking the kids, was King Darius and was Daniel um, being led by people who were wicked, or were they following after God? Were they listening to the advice of people that were not good people, or were they listening to God's advice for their life? And hopefully that'll be clearly seen in that story. So yeah, those are the three things. Let me know if I can support you more thoroughly, because I'm definitely not supporting you too thoroughly right now. Joe, of course, I can set up the table for you and prepare snacks and drinks and all that kind of stuff. Um, the goal is small stuff and not super sugary stuff, Joe. We're gonna go for small things, maybe a lot of small things, but small things, and apple slices and grapes, some vanilla wafers, pretzels, goldfish, that kind of thing. So we're not just giving them like tons and tons of sugar, especially right before they go back home. It'd be great. All right, you guys are gonna do awesome. It's gonna be wonderful. See you next week.